an artistic jigsaw, really. You've got all of these different pieces from different trips, and you can just, put them together the way you want. So this is just a little sketch of some people while I was waiting for fish and chips one time. And you can see some of these are, more completely than others, but I occasionally put captions in. So this is when we discovered some chocolate buttons by a brand called Josh. And so this is my wife in the car eating these chocolate buttons. So it's nice for recording memories. For me personally, I find this better than photos. This is the seafront at Exmouth, looking across to Dawlish Warren, and there's a kite in the air there, some posts and so on. So some of these can be very, very quick sketches. There's hardly anything there. People walking along the seafront. And the idea is that by working quickly, it's just kind of a visual diary. It really trains the eye and the brain to, I think, to pick out the most essential details, and some of them work out better than others. This one's not that great, for example. People at the seafront. This is when we discovered the deli hat, which is called How on Earth in Exeter. So this was a salad box that I think we took to the beach. A custard and berry pastry, one of my favourite dishes. This was when we bought a scooter to ride along the river, and we found very quickly that it's really good fun over short distances, but not so good over about 5 miles. I'll be sticking with the BMX, I think. And then, so lots of different things that pop up, and once in a while, I do a sketch, and I think, I'm pretty happy with that one. So this was just a guy wading in the water at Exmouth over a year ago now, almost exactly a year actually, and he's carrying his flip-flops. So I was kind of happy with that one. Sketch of another part of the beach, a couple walking along the sand, yacht on the water, with somebody wading here, paddle boarders. So often you can convey, as my wife, quite a bit of info with very little line work. Now this one I was quite happy with as well. A couple walking hand in hand along the wet sand, carrying their shoes along the water's edge, and then there was a rowing boat here with 4 or 5 people in. So I actually ended up basing a painting on these two. That one and where's it gone? And that one. And one of the problems I used to have years ago was that I would try to replicate my sketch, and I couldn't get what I wanted from the sketch into the finished painting. But what I found more recently is that if I just sort of not care about it too much and keep things very simple and loose, try and put myself in the mindset of where I was when I was actually making the original sketches, then the painting, generally speaking, comes out a bit better. So I'm fairly happy with this finished painting. So let me just show you a couple of sketches from this other sketchbook as well. So got a car, my wife again, fish and chips, the view at Sidmouth, in the restaurant at IKEA. So here, for example, this one I was particularly happy with. There's just a guy off in the distance working on his laptop, and we're just looking over his shoulder at the houses out through the window. More people in the restaurant. There's a view of the Exe Valley through some trees over the rooftops. And again, some of these are just quick studies of leaves and things while I'm sitting in the back garden. And nothing to write home about. That was our cat lying down. Our cat on his little catwalk. That's me sketching with my legs crossed. Purchasing waffles at Newton Abbot. So again, that for me, that's a lovely little memory. It just reminds me of trips we take. Somebody on their phone. Somebody walking their dog. So I'm quite happy with that one. A little wave here. There's a view of Exmouth Beach, couple walking along and people way off in the distance to give some scale to the cliff. And as you can see, some of these are very unfinished, but this is just a little A6 sketchbook, so you can work really quickly. Fairly happy with that one as well. Dog walkers walking along the wet sand and a yacht off in the distance. So what I find this teaches me is to not only be efficient in terms of line, but efficient in terms of what objects do I need to include to create a sense of space and distance. So for me personally, if I didn't have that little yacht there, then it's no longer clear what this line is. Are they walking next to a wall? Is it a field? And that's the horizon line, or is it water? But as soon as I've got the yacht there, it's clearer at least what's going on. Now this one is the view across the wet sand to the distant hills and fields, again from Exmouth seafront. And I've put these lampposts in, and my original idea was to do sort of a kind of an abstract painting based on this sketch, and to include some belted galloways. But I've decided not to include the galloways, but I'm going to put some people in there based on other sketches. So that's the plan for today. So let's get going on the main painting. So having let all of those washes dry, I move indoors and I go through my sketchbooks and I find this sketch of three people walking along, again based on Exmouth seafront. And I start to sketch the woman in the foreground, and I place her head right on top of one of the cauliflowers that is inadvertently formed in my watercolor washes. The shoulders of the guy with the hoodie and the baseball cap, you can see on the right of the screen, I place him on top of a cauliflower as well. And then I'm going to put the guy next to him, the shorter guy, on top of the cauliflower to his left. So I start just very loosely sketching these people in. And as I mentioned earlier in the video, the idea is I'm trying to put myself in the mindset I was when I created the original sketch. So in other words, I don't care too much about how these turn out. I'm not trying to copy my sketches exactly, which is a mistake I used to make years ago. I tried to copy them too carefully and lost some of the energy. So by just kind of staying loose and not worrying about details and just trying to capture the general pose and proportion, I find it works much better. So I'm using a Unipin marker here, which has got water-resistant ink, to draw these people down on top of the dried watercolor. As you can see on the central part of the screen, the lady with the sunglasses is going front and right in the bottom right-hand corner of my composition. The couple with the guy with the baseball cap, they're going to be off and to the left, a little bit in the distance, just like the original sketch. And then the dog walkers that I showed you earlier, you can see those bottom left of screen now in my sketch pad. Well, they've just disappeared. I'm putting them off into the distance a little bit further to the left as well. So the idea is I've got these very light and loose watercolor washes describing the sky, the distant hills, the water and the wet sand. And by including the people of different sizes and different positions, my hope is to create a real sense of space and distance. So you can see I've just put in the lady walking the dog, and then I'll draw her companion. And then having completed them, I now go back to my sketchbook, and top right, you can see there's a couple kind of walking away from me. And this couple, they're barely drawn really, so they're perfect for a couple off in the even further distance in my composition. The sketch on the left, where I've got the cliff off in the distance, I'm using that so that I can include some of the little people off in the far distance and the couple in the foreground of the sketch, but they'll also be way further back than the couple that I'm currently drawing. So the idea, it's almost like an artistic jigsaw, really. You've got all of these different pieces from different trips, and you can just, put them together the way you want. So here's a look at the finished painting, and the inspiration from this came from a series of plein air sketches, my imagination and my memory. So on the whole, I'm pretty happy with the way this one worked out, because I've got the lady with the sunglasses bottom right. She's painted in acrylic, so somewhat bolder. and almost no translucency. As I move to the couple where I've got the guy with the baseball cap, they're painted in watercolor, more of a free expressive style. There's some nice mingling of colors, especially where the bottom of the guy's hoodie goes into his jeans. I really like that bit of blending or distortion that's going on there. Now these two are a little bit transparent, and this is a theme that I use it with my watercolors, especially with people and animals, not infrequently. If you look back at the painting I showed you earlier in the video, you can see that all three of these figures are transparent. So the idea is that the background shows through because these people are moving along, and they're very temporary. They're only going to be there for a while, whereas the landscape is going to be there for much longer. So that's why that middle couple are transparent. Then we move back to the dog walkers, more of an illustrative line and wash style, and an even simpler treatment really. And I kind of feel there's a nice progression of simplification in the way the figures are painted. As we go off into the distance, then we go to the next couple who are monochrome, and then the next little couple or figure, and figures off in the distance, they're not even coloured in at all. So I think this has got a nice sort of surreal, what's going on, where is it kind of feel to it. It's fairly realistic, but without being too representative. So as I say, fairly happy with that one. Now I've just got to think of a title, so I'm not quite sure what to call this one yet. Anyway, hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks very much for watching, and I hope to see you next time.